Walk down any street in Los Angeles, Seattle, or Austin today and you'll see them. RVs lined up like a mobile neighborhood, parked where they never used to be. What looks like a weekend camping trip gone wrong is actually something much bigger. It's become the new face of homelessness in America. These aren't vacation RVs sitting empty while their owners are at work. We're talking about people living in these vehicles full-time because they have nowhere else to go. Working families, retirees on fixed incomes, teachers, nurses, people who never thought they'd end up calling an RV parked on a city street their permanent address. Here's what's really happening. While more and more Americans are being forced into RVs as their only housing option, the infrastructure that could support them is disappearing faster than you can say affordable rent. RV parks across the country are shutting down at an alarming rate, leaving thousands of people with literally nowhere to go. This isn't just a West Coast problem or a big city issue. This is reshaping communities from Florida to Oregon, from major metropolitan areas to small rural towns. And it's about to get a whole lot worse. The numbers tell the story. RV sales have skyrocketed, but 30% of new buyers plan to use them as primary residences. That's triple what it was just 5 years ago. In Los Angeles County alone, over 16,000 people are living in RVs. Seattle saw a 46% increase in people living in vehicles in just 1 year. Today we're examining why RV parks are closing just when they're needed most, and what this means for the thousands of Americans who have no other choice but to call an RV home. Let's dive into this crisis before it reaches a breaking point that affects every community in America. Number 1. Land values are forcing RV parks to sell out. The biggest reason RV parks are disappearing isn't complicated, it's pure economics. The land these parks sit on has become worth far more than the parks can ever generate in revenue, and owners are cashing out as fast as they can. Think about it this way. An RV park might charge residents $400 to $600 per month for a space, generating maybe $50,000 per acre annually. Meanwhile, that same acre could be worth millions to developers who will build luxury apartments or strip malls. In Austin, the Shady Grove RV Resort housed over 150 RVs, many with long-term residents who'd lived there for years. Last year, it shut down overnight when the owner sold to developers. Dozens of people lost their homes with virtually no notice and nowhere to go. This is happening everywhere. Florida has lost over 100 RV parks in the last decade. California lost 35% of its RV parks between 2010 and 2020. Even in traditionally RV-friendly states like Texas, parks are disappearing. Property taxes based on highest and best use valuations are crushing park owners. When your property taxes increase 300% in 5 years, you can't charge RV residents enough to make the numbers work. The math is brutal, and families living in these parks are paying the price. Number 2. Zoning laws are killing new RV park development. While existing parks are closing, zoning regulations make building new ones nearly impossible. Most cities classify RV parks as temporary camping facilities, not residential housing, which creates a legal nightmare for anyone trying to develop new parks. Modern zoning codes were written when RVs were purely recreational. They never anticipated people living in them full-time, so the regulations don't make sense for the reality we're facing today. Even when developers want to create RV communities specifically for people who need housing, they face years of zoning battles, neighborhood opposition, and regulatory hurdles that make projects financially impossible. The result is a perfect storm. Old parks are closing because the land is too valuable, and new parks can't be built because the zoning laws won't allow it. Meanwhile, more people need these housing options every single day. Some progressive cities are starting to update their codes, but it's happening far too slowly to address the current crisis. Number 3. Infrastructure costs are breaking park owners. RV parks built decades ago are facing massive infrastructure upgrade requirements that most simply can't afford. We're talking about complete electrical system overhauls, new water lines, updated sewer connections, expenses that can easily reach hundreds of thousands of dollars. Modern RVs need 50-amp electrical service and high-speed internet that older parks weren't designed to provide. Residents expect these amenities, but upgrading infrastructure while keeping rents affordable creates an impossible financial situation. Environmental regulations add another layer of expensive requirements. Stormwater management, wastewater treatment, and soil contamination issues can trigger costly remediation projects that many park owners simply can't handle. Many owners, especially those nearing retirement, are choosing to sell rather than invest in expensive upgrades. The buyers are usually developers who have zero intention of continuing RV park operations. The few parks that do upgrade often have no choice but to raise rents dramatically, pushing out exactly the people who most need affordable housing options. Number 4. NIMBY opposition is blocking solutions. Community opposition to RV parks has intensified as more people use them for permanent housing. Neighborhood groups fight new developments and push for restrictions on existing parks, citing concerns about property values and neighborhood character. This opposition often stems from misconceptions about who lives in RV parks. Media coverage focusing on problematic street camping creates negative stereotypes that get applied to all RV housing, including well-managed parks with working families. Local governments responding to vocal residents impose restrictions that make RV park operations more difficult. Time limits on stays, prohibitions on mail delivery, restrictions on children attending local schools, all designed to discourage RV parks from serving as housing. The irony is staggering. Communities struggling with homelessness and affordable housing shortages are simultaneously making it harder for RV parks to provide exactly the housing solutions they desperately need. Some cities have banned new RV parks entirely, while others impose such restrictive conditions that development becomes impossible. Number 5. Corporate buyers are changing the game. The RV park industry is being taken over by large corporations that have completely different priorities than the family-owned parks they're replacing. These corporate buyers focus on high-profit recreational camping rather than affordable housing for people who live in their RVs. Corporate-owned parks typically implement strict stay limits, charge premium rates, and focus on amenities that appeal to vacation campers. This business model generates higher profits but eliminates housing options for RV residents. During the pandemic, as RV travel boomed, private equity firms and hospitality companies began acquiring parks specifically to convert them to luxury glamping resorts or high-end RV destinations. A park that previously charged $400 per month for long-term residents might reopen as a resort charging $100 per night with a 14-day maximum stay. The math doesn't work for people who need affordable housing. The loss of independent family-owned parks is devastating because these operations were more likely to work with residents facing financial difficulties and provide the flexibility that people in housing crisis need. Number 6. Utility companies are making operations difficult. RV parks face increasing challenges with utility providers who treat them differently than traditional residential developments. Electric, water, and sewer utilities often charge higher connection fees and impose service restrictions that make operations more expensive. Internet service providers are particularly problematic, often refusing to provide high-speed connections to RV parks or charging commercial rates that make affordable service impossible. As more RV residents work remotely, lack of reliable internet becomes a serious barrier. Water and sewer capacity limitations mean parks can't expand or improve services even when demand exists. Utility companies require expensive infrastructure upgrades that parks can't afford, leading to deteriorating service quality. Some municipalities treat RV parks as commercial rather than residential customers for billing purposes, dramatically increasing operating costs that get passed on to residents through higher rents. The result is a downward spiral where parks can't maintain adequate utilities, residents leave, revenue drops, and parks eventually close. Number 7. Insurance costs are skyrocketing. Insurance costs for RV parks have exploded as companies reassess the risks of mobile housing communities. Liability concerns around permanent residents, aging infrastructure, and environmental issues have made insurers reluctant to provide coverage at reasonable rates. Parks that do find coverage often face premium increases that can double or triple their insurance costs in a single year. For operations already running on thin margins, these increases force closure. Weather-related claims have increased as more people live in RVs year-round in areas subject to severe weather. Unlike campgrounds where users evacuate during storms, residential RV parks must provide shelter during emergencies. Some insurance companies have stopped writing policies for RV parks entirely, leaving owners with limited options and extremely high premiums from specialty insurers. Number 8. Economic pressure on residents creates management problems. The financial stress on RV residents creates operational challenges that recreational parks were never designed to handle. Late rent payments, utility disputes, and collection issues become common when residents are living paycheck to paycheck. Parks that catered to vacationers weren't equipped to deal with the social services needs that arise when people use RVs as permanent housing. Domestic disputes, mental health crises, and child welfare concerns require resources that park management doesn't have. Collection efforts become complicated when residents' homes can literally be driven away. Eviction processes designed for traditional rentals don't work when someone's residence is mobile. Many park owners find themselves inadvertently becoming social workers, dealing with complex situations they're not equipped to handle. Number 9. Climate change is making locations unviable. Extreme weather events are making RV park operations increasingly dangerous and expensive. Floods, hurricanes, wildfires, and severe storms pose particular risks to communities where people live in structures not built to withstand severe weather. Insurance companies are factoring climate risk into coverage decisions, making policies more expensive or unavailable in high-risk areas. Parks in flood zones or wildfire-prone areas face particularly severe challenges. Some parks are closing not because of development pressure, but because continuing operations in increasingly dangerous conditions becomes impossible. This is especially problematic in places like California and Florida, where housing costs have driven many people to RV living. Number 10. The perfect storm is getting worse. All these factors are converging at exactly the wrong time. Housing costs are at record highs, more people are being forced into RVs as their only option, and the infrastructure to support them is disappearing faster than ever. The result is predictable. RVs are showing up on residential streets, in parking lots, and anywhere people can find space. Communities that never dealt with this issue before are suddenly facing dozens or hundreds of RVs with nowhere else to go. This creates a cycle where street camping generates opposition to RV housing, leading to more restrictions on parks and even fewer legal places for people to live. Meanwhile, the underlying housing crisis that's forcing people into RVs in the first place continues to get worse. Here's the reality: this crisis is just beginning. As housing costs continue to rise and more RV parks close, we're looking at a future where entire neighborhoods could be lined with RVs, and communities will be forced to deal with the consequences of decades of failed housing policy. The people living in these RVs aren't there by choice. They're working families, retirees, and young professionals who've been priced out of traditional housing. They're part of our communities, but they're being treated like a problem to be solved rather than neighbors who need support. Some cities are starting to recognize this reality and create solutions. Safe parking programs, updated zoning laws, and partnerships with nonprofits are showing promise. But these efforts need to be scaled up rapidly before the crisis becomes completely unmanageable. The RV parked on your street isn't just a vehicle, it's a symbol of an economic system that's leaving more and more Americans behind. Understanding this crisis is the first step toward finding solutions that work for everyone. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you seen RVs appearing in your neighborhood? Do you know people who've been forced into this situation? What do you think communities should do to address this crisis? Share your experiences in the comments. And if this video helped you understand what's really happening in communities across America, please share it. Hit that like button, subscribe for more analysis of the issues affecting real people, and remember, the housing crisis is bigger than most people realize, and it's coming to a neighborhood near you.